whether you're in the relationship and you're trying to get out, they want to make sure they still have access to you, or you have made it out the relationship, but they still want to be able to maybe text you from time to time, show up at your house from time to time, make a phone call from time to time. And if you have kids together, they still want to be able to have some type of conversation outside of outside of the topic that's related to your children. So today I'm going to blow the whistle. Yep, I call myself the whistleblower on these types of people, because when you don't understand how they function, you easily slip into their trap. So I'm going to blow the whistle on one of their tricks. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new to me, my name is Naila Abdullah. I'm a mental health therapist turned toxic relationship coach. And after overcoming my own personal experiences with both toxic and narcissistic family as well as romantic relationships, I work with women like you, helping you also to heal, to rebuild your life, move on, and most importantly, break the cycle of toxic relationships for good. So if that sounds like what you need, stick around and let's get into this topic. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about one of the ways toxic or narcissistic people keep you hooked. Make sure that they're still attached to you. They still have access to you. If you didn't already know, they need you more than you need them. They need to be able to still have access to you. So whether you're in the relationship and you're trying to get out, they want to make sure they still have access to you, or you have made it out the relationship, but they still want to be able to maybe text you from time to time, show up at your house from time to time, make a phone call from time to time. And if you have kids together, they still want to be able to have some type of conversation outside of outside of the topic that's related to your children. So today I'm going to blow the whistle. Yep, I call myself the whistleblower on these types of people, because when you don't understand how they function, you easily slip into their trap. So I'm going to blow the whistle on one of their tricks today. So one of the ways that they keep you hooked is they mix truth and lies together. They mix good and bad advice together. They mix good and bad acts together. So what do you mean by that? They are going to offer you a good side of them and a not good side of them, a bad side of them, right? As I mentioned just now, truth and lies. When you speak to them, they will say truthful things. They will give you good advice. They will be generous with you. They may even be supportive with you. On the other end, the back end, they will also sometimes lie to you. They will give you bad advice to sabotage you. They will treat you and mistreat you and abuse you, right? Emotionally, psychologically, hopefully not physically. We're typically talking about psychological and emotional here, right? So they will give you both sides. Now, the purpose of doing that is to keep you confused. When you are confused, when someone is confused, it's easy to control them. It's easy to manipulate them. And in this particular case, when you are confused, you are left feeling obligated. You feel obligated to still be attached to them, still be connected to them, because you often think back at the times like, okay, well, he did do this for me, or he was supportive for me, when I was down and out, and at this time, so even though he maybe mistreated me here, or he's, not treating me right here, he did do this for me. So you feel a sense of obligation because of the good advice, because of the truth, the times that he did tell the truth, the times that he did give good advice or did show good acts, right? Another part of feeling confused is you also feel hopeful, right? So again, you're confused. Are they for me? Are they against me? So in addition to feeling obligated to allow them to still have access to you, you also feel hopeful. You feel hopeful that eventually you're going to see more of the good than the bad. You're going to hear more of the truth than the lies, right? So you keep some hope alive. The third part to feeling confused, in addition to feeling obligated and hopeful, is you start to question are you being reasonable, right? You start to question, is it me? Am I being too judgmental? Am I expecting too much from this person? Because they are good to me sometimes, so maybe I should take the bad. And you may not think of it that clearly, but we do start to reason with ourselves when we see something turning out in a way that we don't really want, right? And let's be honest, you did not get into a relationship to end it. You did not get into a relationship for it to go south, right? So oftentimes, even though you see all these signs that this person is toxic, is being destructive to you, you will still find ways to rationalize and to reason still holding on. And this is all a part of their strategy, is to keep you again confused. Let's really just be clear about this, right? If they were to show you exactly who they are, which is the bad advice to sabotage you, right? Because at the end of the day, they want to always feel superior. They always want to feel needed, right? So when you are not doing well, they feel better about themselves, right? They will lie to you, right? So if they were to show these negative sides of themselves, which is the real them, all the time, then you definitely wouldn't stick around, right? So they have to throw in some support, they have to throw in some generosity, they have to throw in some good advice, right? And make it seem like they're really for you. They have to keep you in limbo. They have to keep you confused. But it's okay, because I'm going to give you some solutions on how to handle that today, because we are about healing. We are about moving on. We are about not just ending a relationship, but also being able to heal from it. And you cannot heal in the same place where you got hurt. And if that person or persons still have access to you, they're still able to talk to you and tell you things, you better believe every word coming out of their mouth has an underlying motive, and it still does have an effect on you. So let's go further. To help you to put things in perspective, I want to share 2 examples of what we're talking about today, about how these types of people, toxic narcissistic people, they mix the good with the bad, the truth with the lies to cause confusion. So there's a case that I know of where there is a father whose son was a young man, and he was engaged. He was having a baby on the way. Now, this father is known to be unstable. There's times where the father is doing very well financially, and there's times where he's not doing well. He's good at portraying at doing well, but at this particular period that I'm speaking about, he was not doing well financially, so bad that he actually had to get financial help from other family members. Now, this particular father is known to have narcissistic traits. Again, most people don't get diagnosed, so we call them narcissists, even though they're not diagnosed. But this father is known to have narcissistic traits. What he was doing was he was encouraging his son to quit his stable job, leave his stable home environment, and move out of town to where the father was to start working in the father's business. Again, this father's business was not doing well. He needed help. And if you are a parent, you know, and this message, even though we're typically talking about toxic romantic relationships, I know some of you that I've spoken with and past clients that I've had, you have children with narcissistic fathers or toxic fathers. And this is something that you really have to keep in mind, where just because you see the father, the toxic or narcissistic father, doing things for the child, you know, they seem like, okay, even though he's not good with me, but he helps out with the child. Keep in mind, this personality trait cannot love anyone, and they will sabotage everyone. Okay, no one is exempt. So it's just a matter of time before they're able to then get their claws into the children. And I know in some cases you can't really prevent it. You can't completely cut the child off, but you really have to do your best at monitoring the situation and preparing the child to know that even though this is your father, you still need to be guarded. Ideally, not involved with them at all, because they're just not safe. But if you're not at that place where you can remove yourself or remove the father completely out of your life, then to prepare your child to be guarded, because these people will try to sabotage. So back to the story. So in this case, the son felt confused. He felt confused because he's had, over his years with his father, being in contact with his father, he has had moments where the father would give him really good advice, right? He would seem supportive of him. He would help him, not just financially, but in other areas, right? But he's also experienced his father not giving great advice. and not really showing up and being genuinely supportive, right? But again, because of the way our mind works, we want to avoid pain. So what we do, human beings, is we try to downplay the bad side and only look, or primarily look, at the good side. But that is exactly what these types of manipulative people are counting on. They are counting on you forgetting the bad side, forgetting the bad advice, forgetting the mistreatment, and hoping that you just focus on the good. And if you don't, they'll remind you of all the good things they've done for you. They'll remind you, they'll throw it in your face to make you seem and feel like you are now ungrateful. So this is an example of where confusion can cause you to allow them to sabotage you. Because there will be a time where you're not able to discern between the good and the bad advice, or the good and the bad acts, right? Or the truth or the lies, right? And quite frankly, being in a relationship where you have to filter so much of what someone is saying or doing, that is exhausting. That is not what a relationship is supposed to be. If you're in a relationship with someone, you want to be able to trust what they're saying. You may not always agree with what they're saying, but you want to trust that the intentions are pure, that the intentions are good, and that you don't have to filter out, okay, today are they for me, or today are they trying to break me and sabotage me? It's not the way it's supposed to be. Another point that I want you to be aware of, which is part of the solution, is you being aware that misleading advice is meant to sabotage you. In that example that I gave with the father and the son, that misleading advice, encouraging the son to leave his job, leave his town, pick up his pregnant fiance, to move where the father wasn't even doing well, that was meant to sabotage the son. And you may say, well, why would they want to sabotage? It's in their character. Don't try to understand why. It just is that way. But I'll give you a little deeper reason of why they are the way they are. They need you to be dependent on them. It's very confusing, but I'm going to give this example. They want to see you doing well on one hand, because when you're doing well, they can benefit from your success, right? In the form of the image, right? Being connected to someone who is successful and doing well makes them look good. On the other end, they have a very fragile ego, and they interpret other people's success as an attack on their self-esteem. I know it sounds twisted, right? But that is how their brain works. So on one hand, they will be supportive. They will want to see you doing well. But on the back end, they are jealous and envious of you. And they also don't like that, okay, if you're doing too well, then you won't need me anymore. And I need to feel needed. I need to feel that you depend on me. So again, mix in that good advice. They will give some bad advice. They will give some misleading advice to sabotage you, to make you dependent on them. My favorite point here, I don't know if I'm allowed to have favorite points, but my favorite point here, because I like to be able to break societal subliminal teachings that we learn that is just, it's sabotaging us, it's breaking us, it's causing us to have pain, because we are following teachings and we're following messages that is out there for whatever reason, but is not logical. So the societal rule that I encourage you to break today, if you really want to be able to heal from a toxic relationship, which means you need to be able to get unhooked from them. Don't take their claws out of you. Again, whether you're in the relationship or out the relationship, make sure they don't have access to you. You have to break the societal message that you are obligated to allow people to have access to you because they were nice to you, or because they were supportive of you. These different rules apply when we're dealing with these type of people. And sometimes you don't know they're toxic or narcissistic. So really, this rule needs to apply for everyone, right? Just because someone did something nice for you or did multiple nice things for you, so supportive of you, it does not mean that you have to then ignore when they mistreat you, when they cross boundaries, when they lie, when you catch them in lies, when you catch that they are jealous of you, when you see things about them that is a red flag, that's just not right. You don't have to ignore that because they did something good for you. That is exactly what manipulative people are counting on in order to keep their claws in you, to make sure that they're still attached to you. They are counting on you feeling guilty if you were to say, I don't want anything to do with you. They're counting on you to feel guilty for cutting them off because they know that you are functioning off of that rule, right? That rule that we don't know where it came from, right? But it's within society, right? I don't know. Sometimes I blame religion. Forgive me. I am a spiritual woman, but I do feel like sometimes religion, religion causes a lot of guilt in humans. Because religion talks about, being grateful and having gratitude and being humble, and all of those things, are good to a certain extent. I'm not going to be humble and have endless gratitude for you just because you did something nice, but you're still mistreating me, right? And the funny thing is, not funny, but the ironic thing is that when it comes to physical abuse, it's easier to see that, okay, just because if you punch me in my face today, but tomorrow you come and give me a hug, it doesn't mean that you didn't punch me yesterday, right? But you might still see that bruise on your face, right? So it's not easy to forget, right? But when it's psychological and it's emotional abuse, that is something that you can easily, deny because it's not visual. These are some of the mindset shifts and changes that needs to make in order for you to be able to heal, to move on, to let go after a toxic or narcissistic relationship. I hope that this was helpful for you. If you enjoyed this episode today, you're definitely going to love my ebook. It is in the description box below. It is called The 3 Mistakes that I made with toxic relationships and how you can avoid them. I go a little bit further in depth about things that I've learned from my experience, and like the saying goes, wise people learn from other people's mistakes. So go ahead and learn from some of my mistakes and get access now while it's still free in the description box below. If you do not want to wait until the next episode, you can connect with me on Facebook, on Twitter, and definitely on Instagram. Instagram is where I go live also, so you can connect with me there. And all the links, I know my name is not the easiest to spell, but all the links are in the description box below. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode, and never keep all the information to yourself. If there's someone, at least that one person, we all know one person, unfortunately, that is dealing with a similar situation, go ahead and share this episode so that they can also benefit from this information. And I will see you in the next episode. Take care.